Good evening. We've got some huge news for you today. My mixer is broken. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the news. Mixer is gone, and Facebook Gaming has been joined by the original creators of Mixer in some weird craziness as they try to compete with Twitch and all the other gaming streaming services out there.
Good luck to them.
Dude, what's wrong with your mic?
His mixer broke.
Dude, for real. Like, what is going on? You have a wah-wah pedal somehow wired into your mic?
That was weird. It was just like
You sound like I thought I was watching Alex Jones for a minute in one of his rants.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Tech Circus. My name is Chris, sometimes known as Battery Powered. We also have Mixer Michael Pepper in here. What's up, Michael? As well as Tech702, Mr. Mike himself. Welcome to this week's episode.
What's going on?
So I just have one little comment about that Mixer thing. I keep seeing the only way that I knew of Mixer is because Microsoft was paying people like big money to go over there.
Ninja.
And yeah, I was going to say, I think it was Ninja that was first.
That's really the only reason I even knew what the hell it was. Be honest.
That was the only thing that made it newsworthy. And then occasionally I would go in and check out streams by certain folks. Like I think Signeri is one guy that I kind of follow. Josh, pretty cool kid, but I know he was doing some stuff over in Mixer. Like I would go over there for that. Most of the stuff though, I ended up watching over at Twitch anyway. If I was watching anything to do with live streaming or gaming, well, not all live streaming, obviously, but games or any sort of that, low latency, very interactive content that was a specific genre. I didn't really think Mixer was that intuitive. And I guess I really expected it, like with Xbox ties and everything else, in the Microsoft land, that it would have been better. So 702, what do you think is going to happen now that they've paired up with with Facebook Gaming? For
me, it looks like anything to do with Facebook is on the way out, or they're desperately reaching for strings. So if you talk to anybody under probably 30 years of age, even myself at 40, I don't use Facebook for much of anything other than ranting, keeping in touch with elderly. You know what I mean? Who uses Facebook in a usable way that's younger? So the streaming service, the streaming business is founded on the principle of younger people at this time. Now, as those people get older, 20 years from now, yeah, that'll be different. So I think personally, it's a desperation move that will end up like a Google product where they terminate it in a year or two after failure. I think it's a great opportunity for Twitch. I think anybody has a Twitch stream because that's the one everybody knows, everybody talks about, and people, especially younger people, want to get the hell away from Facebook. So I think Twitch goes up. I think this is a mess waiting to happen with Facebook and whatever they're trying to make it. I'm sure they'll give it some cool trendy name and offer you a free headphones or something with it to get you to sign up, but after that it's going to die. I am pretty much the same. I like how you said it's one of those old obscure Google services that they just sort of kill. No, they just make stuff because it's like some guy in the morning is like, all right, they're sitting there at a board meeting in the morning like, hey, who's got an idea for me?
Yeah,
I got one, boss. And so it sounds good for a month. They send the developers out, they waste $1 million on it, 6 months rolling out 15 betas, and then it gets out there and they find out the 15-year-olds don't want anything to do with it, so it gets trashed. Simple as that.
Yeah, seriously. Hey, by the way, I Pepper, do you have anything more on Mixer other than kind of your ventriloquism act there that you were doing before
with his beard, his disappearing beard?
Not really, other than
Poltergeist. It's like Poltergeist.
What the hell is going on? That's weird.
Just
it was working perfectly fine before we went live.
Do a dark background. That'll help you.
Nope, not that one. Maybe. Yeah, it does.
Burlesque.
I had no idea what Mixer was other than like Ninja transferring over, and that story was like months ago, and then when they popped up as going away today and being gone, which I think is funny because like, why would you buy a huge company or buy out a huge creator and then just nix yourself unless it was just an epic fail from that?
Yeah, it's been comical because I mean, as stated before, the only reason we even knew it existed was as Jason C says, actually they were relevant when they bought Ninja, and now it's RIP, and that's exactly it.
He said, "Who's paying Ninja now?" Ninja had a tweet that said he's taking into consideration his fans, and he's going to think what he's going to do next, aka waiting to see who writes the check.
Yeah.
I would assume translation, right? Yep. I mean, the guy got paid to basically didn't take long to cash out.
Well, it's interesting too, this whole streaming thing. Like, people that are good at it are actually out getting like big deal context. Like PewDiePie, you know, I didn't realize that he bailed on, he was doing YouTube stuff and then he bailed, and then like he just signed this exclusive agreement. I mean, that was pretty big news. I knew who he was from the YouTube stuff though, and I actually was like, did this guy go over to Mixer too? I thought it was the other one, but looking back now, he went somewhere else. So I don't know. This whole future of game streaming and all this stuff is very interesting. I'll admit it. It is interesting sometimes to watch gameplay. It's amusing, especially if you've got someone that's really, really good at the game and they can inspire you, or at some kind of content that can educate you. I know,
make you a better player for sure.
Make you a better player, or just give you something entertaining. Like on Twitch, actually, random shout out here to El Jefe's brother, I believe, DJ Audio One. He does a Twitch stream, and he's just like, I mean, DJing stuff, and it's really, really good stuff, but it's just like music channel, you know, and it's constant, you know, and that is something that I never would have thought of being on. I mean, it's all straightforward and simple, but it's something I never would have thought of being over there. So I'm glad to see the expansion of these things, but I do think that there can only be one really, really good one. So I'm glad to hear that these guys are moving away from it.
I think ultimately it's going to take a team sponsored. So let's say like FaZe Clan or one of these super huge followed esports teams. Once they sign on as a team, because it's one thing to brand Ninja or an individual. Yeah. They can come and go. They might get canceled. I mean, let's face it, right? People say and do things that you can get canceled for now. But if you can do a brand with a moniker that transcends a single person, and a company or a streaming service could cash in on that, then you can replace people. But the brand is continuous. I see that ultimately, if something like that was to happen, I think that could be the future.
Well, I think, Mike, I mean, I think a lot of people are they're making an attempt now to cancel you because you didn't make a response video today to this Mixer thing.
I thought live tweeting was enough.
No.
Not enough.
You cancel Mike.
It's crazy, you know, you're talking about people getting canceled and that. I don't know if you saw the guy that was like the huge makeup artist on YouTube is potentially out the door now because of some inappropriate comments of things going on lately. And so there were people reaching out to him, like you're talking about PewDiePie and some of like these large channels reaching out, and I was like, what's wrong with you? And, you know, and you need to fix this, you need to change that. And so I think that's a great part of, for us being part of the community, we understand what's going on and understand like, hey, sometimes you just got to tell each other that's messed up, don't do that again, or you're out of here. You know, you're gonna lose it. And I guess it can be too late.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of which, it's been a little bit. I know every week we've kind of started these shows. We've always been starting them in a little bit of a weird way or a different way. But I actually wanted to catch an update. I know, Pepper, you've got a new laptop, and you're dribbling some content out of it. Mike, did you ever get your laptop? Because you were getting one, right?
Oh boy. I'm on my second one, I think.
Oh wow.
So for those that aren't following along, I ordered an absolute beast of a laptop on May 27th. Yeah, it's been that long. Top shelf, 300 hertz, 32 gigs of RAM. It's just badass laptop. After 3 weeks, it was supposed to be delivered. FedEx botched the delivery. They said it was delivered. It wasn't. So the big fraud investigation Still don't know where the damn thing is, but Dell will not cancel it out. It's an Alienware. Dell won't cancel out the order. They wanted a police report and this and that and the other. And I'm like, how do I make a police report on something that never came to my house that I never owned? So that talked to the credit card company. Fast forward a week later, I almost went and bought the new MacBook with the 5600M in it, but then I realized that's $4,000. So I went and reordered a new, exactly the same laptop I ordered the first time. So I got a pretty significant discount. It was close to $3,000 laptop. I paid about $2,200 for it with all my discounts. So I have close to $5,000 out in the wind on the hopes that maybe in 2 weeks I will get this laptop. And so, yeah, it's a sore spot for me right now.
That's just like buying a MacBook, man. Same level. No.
Like I almost said I'll spend double and went and got, because that 5600M, it can game. I mean, not the highest end of the highest end, but you could get 60 to 80 frames and that's playable. So I almost did it, but I was like, that's almost $2,000 more. And I couldn't, that's what I need to buy my camera and everything else. So didn't happen.
I think it's too bad we can't have a poll. We should have a poll to see if we want you to get
a live poll.
A live poll, like poll and then dancing.
Twitch does, but just throwing it out there.
Well, I just think we should poll the audience to see if they want you to get a better camera or not. Maybe they don't want more pixels.
What do you guys think? In the chat.
Yeah, not just anyone. Pepper.
People will be asking him to add some Gaussian blur at like 100%. They're in the middle.
Can you add some motion blur like every time your mouth moves, just so we don't have to watch you?
He's also slightly turning into a over contrasted R2D2 hologram from Star Wars. He's getting pastier as this goes on.
And I'm in the closet over here just trying. I'm like, every single week you guys watch my retinas, dry up and shrink. So I'm like, I got to do it a little bit differently. And my wife texts me and is like, are you inside of a jack-o'-lantern or something? It's like, never mind. Never mind with that, honey. Pepper,
you digress.
You've been out flying a little bit, right?
I have.
I wanted to say you've been getting high a lot, right? But how is that treating you? You get anything more coming on that? I know you kind of moved from the drone over to the laptop. What do you got now? What's going on?
So I am, and I've been tinkering with some more cinematic shots and getting more courageous and more ballsy, I guess you could say, as far as just drastically shooting up and away, which is kind of crazy, kind of scary, especially when you're in town and you have like electrical wires everywhere and you have maybe a 8-foot space to just shoot up between the lines, get up about 50 feet and then take it back. And it's been interesting. Original Dobo got the exact same drone and he's been doing some cool stuff, and I've been interacting with him a little bit on Twitter and just getting some advice as far as, okay, what do you do? And he literally just told me, just trust the drone. He said, you're fine. Trust the drone. It's good enough. He's like, if you can do what I've seen you do already, you are fine. He's like, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing. So that was a cool interaction. Like that was like, be my top interaction of the week to have this guy. Cause
yeah,
I mean, we know he does some crazy stuff
back and not really tell you how he really feels.
Yeah. And he's incredible. He's doing, well, kind of, not really, but
no.
but I'm not a big channel by any means. For him to just be like, hey, I'm looking forward to what you're doing with that. It's pretty cool. And I mean, he shoots inside of houses and does these crazy things where he zooms back out of the door and away and does all sorts of crazy real estate stuff. And it makes me think like I should just look at the real estate agents around here and ask them, hey, would you want me to do that? Obviously there's licensing. So if anybody doesn't know that wants to get into drones, if you're paid at all, it doesn't matter, 1 penny that you make from that, you need to have a Part 107 license, which is just it's a test and a small fee. I think depending on I've seen websites that will offer classes, and then as part of it at the end, they actually contribute towards your test costs. So essentially, it's like, okay, we're going to teach you, and then they contribute towards your test. And then they guarantee you'll pass and all sorts of things, and they help kind of motivate you to get that, because if you don't think you'll need it, you never know. At some point, even doing a channel, you become monetized. As soon as you become monetized, if you use it for your footage at all legally, you have to have that licensing. So, or they'll come after you. I've heard some pretty bad stories lately of people getting huge fines and the FCC coming after them and things like that. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I didn't think about that. If you get monetized from your content, yeah, technically you are profiting from it. In that case, you would need to be flying. That would need to be under the appropriate terms of that commercial license. That is interesting. And yeah, and Ken, Original Dobo, that real estate stuff that he does is wondrous. I'm glad you actually connected with him. That dude's smart and he's funny, and I just enjoy reading his comments every day on Twitter, because it's like people comment on his videos and they say, I don't like your videos, and he's like, F off, and then his sub count continues to grow. So
I enjoy everybody that says F off and gain subs.
Yeah, it's whereas we're silly us. We're
one of the
interact with people.
One of the things that I've seen people talk about, though, is especially even if you become monetized, unless you're making enough off from it, they'll just go in and turn off monetization for those particular videos. So if they're using a drone to shoot footage, but they don't want to have to get the licensing, if you turn it off, then technically you're not being paid for it. So you don't have to have the licensing.
That's good.
If you're just want to do it as like a hobby and don't want to have to go through that. That's one of the things that I've seen. And for anybody curious, related to that, DJI had some sales this past week on their website. And I think Best Buy had some sales on like the DJI, their handheld camera. They had some sales like $100 or more off on some of like the Mavic 2 Pro and things like that. There were a lot of sales going on this week, and Chris brought to my attention this lovely sale going on. That's
what we got there. Oh, that's right. TCL.
Yeah. And everybody saw the $212 10L, though. That's what I thought was funny. And nobody for the longest time went in and saw the 10 Pro was also on sale until later. It was funny and I think it was because of how Amazon promotes their stuff.
I like the banner timing with this, though. Like, even if you buy it, too bad they can't deliver it.
Yeah, I think you're on the wrong banner there.
Yeah, I think so. But I was just like, what the heck? They can't. What is that about? I thought you were trying to troll me on this one.
I like the pun with Dell in it, though.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing that's amusing with TCL, I mean, so my whole angle with this is we still have no Pixel in sight, right? We've heard that there's going to be like some sort of Pixel thing at some point. It's releasing. No one knows when it's really going to be available. We've got Samsung stuff on the horizon. There's really no challenger right now that's dropping in the value realm of what I think. I mean, TCL is already pretty low for what they're producing per devices. And I wasn't sent one because I'm not Canadian, but they were very, very cost-conscious devices. I think they're probably manufactured a little bit, over above near cost. So they're already pretty cheap. And then to see them drop even lower, I don't understand. I don't understand why, but it's pretty cool. And it is funny too. Pepper and I were chatting this morning. I actually messaged him and I was like, dude, the TCL 10L is on sale. The thing's $250 and it's on sale. And then he's like, yeah, the Pro is too, you notice. So that was actually that dialogue was actually him and I this morning. So good capture on that.
On the flip side of that, though, it's like $250, a little too steep. $212, right up my alley. Like, like who? That $40 is you could buy an Amazon Fire tablet. with the money you save.
You could buy about eight Fire. Oh yeah.
No, with
money
the saving. Yeah.
Yes, with the
Or
saving. Yeah.
a pair of Soundcore Q10s. No. Just saying. Right.
Those were on sale.
Those actually, yeah, those are on
saying?
sale today. I think they're what is it for the there is a sale today on those things. They're $29.99 again with no code.
I'm gonna need an affiliate link for that because I've been hawking these things to all my friends now.
Yeah, it was funny actually. We cannot talk about the Q. I've got to add that to the blacklist of topics that we can't
talk about it. No,
we can't talk about the Q10. It's on every single stream now. I feel like.
Yes, you told me that at the exact same time as I was looking through my news of the day, and it popped up that the 10 Pro was on sale, and it was kind of ironic.
Well,
so go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think the thing that's interesting about it is, it's not a secret. They knew that there was some big news coming today. They knew that there was some absolutely incredible stuff going on, and they wanted to take some of the eyes off of this mixer announcement and bring it back to
nothing else
to them. I don't know that there was anything else actually.
They clout chased Dub. TCL clout chased Dub.
Just a little bit.
And we have no Pixel release, but TCL's already hit their first price drop.
Right.
Good job, Google. Keep it up.
Oh man.
So speaking of,
yeah,
what was that other event today?
Oh, there was that.
Real quick before we get to that, there is one thing that I came across that I don't know if either one of you saw, that I thought was kind of funny. Was OnePlus, right when this started, was tweeting out pictures of the bezels or lack of bezels of the smart TV that we've been waiting on forever. And I just thought it was kind of ironic because, Apple a couple events ago had their event the same day that OnePlus was supposed to, and they pushed it off. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. So if anybody didn't know, they're trying to go back at them, and apparently they're getting closer to actually releasing these TVs now, and to see what they're doing is pretty impressive. But I guess it has to do with some newer technology as far as cutting the displays and being able to get to the sizes that they wanted. So just wanted to touch on that real quick before we went into...
What series of TV is that's the TC? Is that, do you know what? Because I know they got like 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, whatever. Do you know what series that is, perchance? Or am I totally putting you in the spot in the middle of that, and I should just be Googling it silently while I'm talking?
This is the OnePlus.
Oh! It's
OnePlus Series 1.
It actually says OnePlus
Series. They might give it a different number, but we all know it's Series 1.
I was so thinking that like the OnePlus was a typo. I'm like, OnePlus is making TVs, and why does OnePlus care about? Okay, never mind.
No, that was
I'm back on the show, guys. I'm good.
Their leak. Huawei leaked a TV. Xiaomi's done it, and now OnePlus is finally. Well, they've been leaking it for like a year, but they're finally, I guess, closer to that. And it'll be interesting to see if they'll use their version of like Android as a smart interface, or if it's going to be completely something different, because we don't really know much. And it was funny to see Pete Lau and all of his like taunting. And there's a picture of him, and I think it was a couple of his brothers and his dad from like Father's Day. So they linked it together, but it was just an interesting thing I wanted to touch on before we kind of transitioned into the main event of what happened today.
Well, I mean,
let the fanboy do it.
I apologize. I just really want to stop and apologize to everybody, because the other day, actually yesterday, I had a cool little live stream where I talked about, I really want to talk about Apple Bluetooth and what they're going to be doing with Bluetooth, which they are pretty proud of, it seems. But today they had a little bit of WWDC, which is a Worldwide Developer Conference, for those who do not know. Sometimes there's hardware, sometimes there isn't. Today it was scarce of any new product introductions. There were some absolute fire changes coming to our favorite OSs. But the one thing that we didn't see that's really funny, and it's only funny because it was me talking about this 24 hours ago, how much I'm looking forward to Apple AirTags and what they're going to do and change. I don't think that they're not scalped. I think Apple is clearly holding off on hardware, but that's the one downside of today is we didn't see any hardware at all. They did talk about some pretty heavy stuff, but me being the guy that's the biggest fan of this, I want to know. And that's exactly what it is. That we should all celebrate that. I mean, I could relive that entire episode because loading iOS 14 and throwing Tile on the phone, like it comes on and it's like, no, as soon as you enable notifications for the Tile app, it comes in and it's just like, we want your back, you got to turn on background stuff. And if you turn it off and then launch the app, it's like a banner. You got to turn this on. You got to turn it. And I'm like, So yeah, it was kind of polite of Apple to just, I'm sure it was, again, just because of me. They were like, oh, we can't let this guy actually predict anything, so let's shoot it. But hey, if we're going to talk about how wrong I was, we should talk about the fact that I did publicly on Twitter somewhere here. I went out and I said, you're not going to get multitasking in iOS 14. You're going to get video pip, and it's not going to work for YouTube. Maybe that wasn't anything, magical. Maybe we all knew that. But hey, I knew we weren't going to get the real multitasking, but what we did get is, we got a little bit more. I want to know you guys, Mr. Pepper, what is your favorite thing from the show? I'm assuming you got to watch all of Dub Dub and got caught up on it today. What was your favorite thing? I want to know what you guys saw for the favorite items today.
My favorite thing was actually something had nothing to do with necessarily new software itself as much as minimalizing Siri and when phone calls come in so they don't annoy the hell out of you. So you're sitting there on your iPad, right? And your iPhone call comes in and it doesn't take up the whole thing. Or even on your iPhone that doesn't take up the whole thing.
They did that across the whole thing, even with search and all that. All that got compressed.
And on Mac OS too. I mean, doing all that was pretty cool to see. Search, like Mike said, looks more on iOS and iPad OS as it kind of has for years on Mac OS, where if you hold down the command space bar and it brings that overlay and it's just a tiny bar and you search and then you can click on a person's name, an app, web searches, all sorts of things was pretty amazing to me. And then one other thing that I thought was cool was the app clips. So my thought on that is, could I create something like that would link to my YouTube channel, since they allow oh my gosh, Yelp. They allowed Yelp to let certain restaurants and stuff have their own kind of app inside Yelp. So you don't have to go to Yelp and then search for it. It uses their services specific to that restaurant or whatever. So what would be cool is if we could use that to link to like an app or like our own channel within Twitter or Twitch or YouTube or whatever it is. Because I could see that being cool, especially because we're seeing how Apple is essentially opening up and letting that NFC chip being used more than just Apple Pay. So what would be cool is if you could reverse use it, so like your iPhone will cast out the signal that's needed, and then you hold yours to the back of mine, and I can share like you've been able to do for a while. I mean, I know Mike says Android does it first, but yes, you've been able to do that for a long time. But what would be cool is to see that, because they introduced the car functionality, so why not? And being able to share all sorts of things, so why not being able to share info just by you hold out your iPhone, somebody holds theirs to it, and now they're off and they've got your card information. You don't have to send it over iMessage. You don't have to go find it. You can program it in. So like, I don't know, you they tap their phone to the back of yours, and you hit the power button at the same time or something, and it sends it through. You can there's some sort of function. So.
The car key thing, I think, as long as they're running an iOS 13 or later phone, it looked like they don't have to be near you. You can literally just send them the key, which is
That seems kind of cool, and I would be scared to have other companies do that, in all honesty, because of security issues that we've seen. Like, somebody's going to hack your phone, and now they're going to share that to like everybody around, and anybody can go get in your car that might know where it's nearby. And I think the cool thing, one of the things that I kind of caught, I meant to go back and grab the screenshot of it, is when you do that, it can also link to a map where your car is.
Yeah.
So like I drive out to visit Mike and where he is, and I'm there with my car, and I go, "Hey, Mike, I'm just gonna leave my car. Somebody's gonna pick me up. You know, come take my car. You know, meet me up at whatever." I don't know why he's taking my car, but I don't know. Let's say for the heck of it, Tesla was nice enough to let me be the first Cybertruck user, and it has a built-in. I don't know, whatever.
Then I would be driving out there.
He can find the truck just from that simple one action and go get in it. Would be awesome. I know initially it was Ford and BMW that they talked about, but they hinted at other companies, and just like they hinted at the whole HomeKit thing that we'll get into, they're starting to work with more other more companies and integrating things. And so just those few things of just quick little, but minimizing some things was awesome. And when we get around to talking about the things that I didn't like, I will also get back about how minimalizing also kind of screwed up iOS, in my opinion. So,
well,
we'll get to that in a minute.
The one thing I just want to throw, and it's good. It's good. I mean, you'd think generally all I want to hear about is what you liked, and then just carry that through till we end the show. But I did think it's interesting. You know, they're kind of doing that little combo deal with BMW. I mean, Ford is definitely trying to get more relevant in the EV space as well. So partnering with them, I think, is good. Right now, there seems to be a lack of what I will call how can I say this without sounding like a jerk? The EV space is a very interesting one. BMW has a lot of like funky hybrids and things, but their stuff generally isn't inexpensive. So we're not really surprised to see Apple coming to them for part of, hey, and this car key kit's going to be out here next year, or, this car, the new 5 Series, I think, gets announced next month. And it's going to be the first car featuring this. And then, of course, they partnered with Ford. I'm willing to bet that the new, Ford Fiat, actually, do they make the Fiesta sell? Whatever. They're
some derivative.
They're the Econobox, even though Ford stopped making cars, whatever they're making, is that going to feature it? Probably not. It's probably going to be some $800 option that you can buy if you buy the stupid nav package. But the thing that I thought was interesting, I mean, since you brought this up, I won't drag on it too long. Tesla has a pretty big jump on a lot of manufacturers, obviously, as far as charging network and a bunch of other things. And there is a whole discussion outside of this show that we could have about that sometime, but and how people are working to catch up. I think this Apple move will give the other manufacturers a bigger unified leap forward to help catch up with some where Tesla has that lead. But the other thing that I thought is a little bit weird, especially from like 2 California-based companies, they couldn't. I mean, maybe it's just like, I don't know, maybe the Tesla engineers were like just not answering the phone because they're too busy or something, but there's just nothing in there about Tesla stuff. And we know Tesla's secure. They want to do their own thing. They're kind of like Apple. They're like, you leave us the hell alone. I mean, you go any Tesla you go by, for those who don't know, there's no car kit, there's no app, there's no nothing. You plug your phone in, it shows up as an iPad. You go spend $140,000 and your phone is showing up as an iPad in that car. So that's where I think they could have done a little bit more on that one.
I think eventually Tesla makes their own OS though, because all their stuff is Linux based, and I see probably not for like 5 or 10 more years, but you'll see some kind of Tesla OS that will start with their vehicles, move into the smart home, and then eventually there will be a showdown.
It's similar to, but I could also think that it's similar to how NVIDIA and Apple don't get along, because NVIDIA wouldn't hand over control and Apple wouldn't hand over control. So they both wanted to keep things, so they just don't work with each other. So they just started doing their own separate thing. And that's the direction that I could see. Maybe not even about them developing their own OS to compete. It's just Apple wanted too much control, and we know Elon Musk is not going to have that at all. But I also feel like eventually either Tesla will give in or they'll lose some things, just like how Apple tends to take concepts that other companies have and use them in their own way, and that competes and tends to kind of work better in their ecosystem. That Apple will just say, fine, then we'll just make it work on our end. We'll take your technology and make it work anyways, because we can do it without violating patents and stuff, because they've done it in the past. We see them do it all the time. Windows had Continuum before Apple had Continuity. They used basically the exact same thing, but Apple just was able to do it using slightly different software language. So it wouldn't be that difficult. We are seeing them work with other companies as far as like the HomeKit and the lighting and stuff. And so, or maybe they're just not, they're working on it, because like Mike said, Tesla does, or yeah, they do have all these things, right? So they have the solar panels on the roofs. They have the cars. They have all sorts of things that I don't even begin to know that they're working on. So maybe the idea is that that will integrate with HomeKit. So you'll be able to look on your Apple TV and like see your solar charging, like see what it's providing for you and how full your batteries are getting and all sorts of information on that. So I think we don't know yet. And this is all new. I mean, we're 6 months away from most people probably even experiencing this. So,
well, and while I don't disagree with any of that, I'm stepping on a little bit just to pop back over to the dub topic, because I did not I think the couple of quick things that I wanted to say about it that I enjoyed. There's a lot of stuff that's cool in Mac OS, iPad OS. Yeah, there's some neat stuff coming there too. I think one of the my favorite stuff though about iOS 14 so far that is good is the minimalization of things is good. The overlays is good. I think Apple being like a one D UI is just frustrating. They've kind of come up to like 2 with like some different pop-ups and things of that nature, but frustrating as heck. So I'm impressed with their ability to finally do intelligent, like, I don't want to say widgets yet, because they are calling them widgets, but they're still kind of irritating into how they, I guess they're the same thing as widgets in Android. I guess we'll just have to call them widgets. I like widgets, but they still have the thing like Jason said, there's no gridlock to them. You still have to have Apple's choice. Hang on, this is things we like. Going back to that, I like that the camera has a couple of more pro features built into it now. I didn't see them spend a lot of time talking about that today. They'll probably do that, around the time the new devices come out. But I can tell you the new camera app is a little bit different, just a little tiny bit, which is cool, because that gives you, the more people know about what they're doing and understand why they're doing it and what numbers mean and stuff. I mean, it doesn't necessarily add complexity, but to have it right there, I think like exposure management is the thing that is coming to mind as I'm saying this. There was like 2 or 3 different settings in there that you can tweak that I expect we'll see more development on the new devices. So I like that. And then that new app drawer, or what is it, app library, whatever they're calling it, that thing is weird, man. It is. It messes with my head for one thing, because Apple for the longest time, all right, to take like a minute on this thing. If you go in the old school, like Mac stuff.
Hold it closer, Pepper. Sorry, he's trying to demo it.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't even
it's gonna glitch out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
That's the because it's reflecting off, and it's
I got you.
Gonna glare out. That's the problem. Only
it's kind of like a half-ass app drawer / customized home screen, but different.
Well, it's weird because now I have my home screen with all my like native Apple built-in stuff, and then if I swipe to the right, it goes to my widgets just like before. If I swipe to my left, now I have my whole app library. But it's confusing because there's things like, I didn't realize that tapping on an app opened it. I thought it just would go into like that folder, but no, you got to tap on the little icons for it to open to show like the folder inside there. So it gets real iffy as far as like you got to just figure it out.
And that's the thing, like to me, my brain is so the old days on Mac, you would swipe the leftmost screen on Mac was like your control panel or mission control or whatever the heck it was. I can't remember what they called it, but it had all those, great little sort of widgets in it. And that's what Mac had. And then they slowly got rid of that. And they moved, and then you could also import it as like an overlay onto your home screen. And they've kind of done this with iOS with the app drawer and the different pull downs and stuff. So those things were all really cool. But on Mac, when you go to like the right-hand side of it and you pull in from the right, you get like your notifications and stuff. Well, I understand on iOS, it's from the top and that's how you get that. But there's apparently some notifications that will be appearing in the app drawer as well. So for me though, I don't know what it is. Going to the right on a smartphone, maybe it's just because I've been using iOS for too long. Like I don't think to go over there. So even though that was the instruction to get into the library area, I just kept not doing it, and now I've gone and deleted. So what I've done on my 14 testbed phone is I've nuked pretty much every app that I don't immediately require, because I want to go see what happens in that little intelligent area, allegedly within the app library. But one thing I got to tell you that's kind of cool. So widgets. Good news about widgets is they have this really neat little thing called Smart Stack, which I think is my favorite widget so far, because even though I've only been using iOS 14 for whatever, 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is, it shows you different things that it thinks that you'd be interested in. Like it showed me, music when I was hanging out in the kitchen. And then when I, sat down here, it was showing me like, hey, pictures from a year ago or whatever. And it's like a little button that turns into whatever you want. But what I can't stand, just to go back to that, the thing that really irritates me about widgets is there are some OSs out there that when you set up a widget, it's kind of like locked to a grid, and you can even get customizable launchers and all this other stuff that forces those things to behave a certain way. Apple still has this stupid spring thing that's stuck there. So like if you move the thing here, it slides back over here. And if you move the app here, it has to be over here. It's like you can't just put something somewhere and leave it there. It has to be within whatever Apple's magical magnetic gravity thing is, which, since we're clearly turning now towards what we don't like. Mike, you're up. What didn't you like today?
Didn't like or liked?
Well, I mean, I'd ask you what you liked. I mean, you can go either way.
No,
I forget you only had stuff you didn't like.
No, I'll tell you what I liked a lot. I liked a lot. And in fact, in my tweets, I was caught myself trying not to fanboy out on Android, and everybody, I noticed the fun thing to do on Twitter is, and before the Android fanboy said we had it first. Well, Android did. So the fact is there's a lot of really, really significant, useful changes. Some of the things that you and I, two guys that spend a lot of time in our cars, would use immediately is transcribe. Google kind of rolled that out last year with Pixel and made it, we don't know how functional it's going to be yet. I haven't had a chance to use it, but that's something you can use every day. If you're a mobile person that doesn't have hands-free, if it works as good as the Pixel rolled out their transcribe, that's a win. And supposedly they have a translate that's supposed to be just as effective. Now, whenever I look at Apple Translate, I kind of just like their Maps segment where they wanted to talk about how new and improved Maps are. Well, Maps, they say that every year. It's always below Google Maps. It's always below Waze because it's not there. Apple Maps is good if you're in a smart shopping center where everybody's utilizing Apple products, and it can give you like step-by-step direction. Then it's awesome. But Google can do that even if the vendor doesn't intend for you to, based on group share, fact that you're group sharing and peer sharing off of other devices around you. The other thing, I don't own a pair at the moment, but I assume so. The AirPods with the spatial thing, that's cool. Whatever, AirPod sound is what it is. That's a cool effect. However, the feature I do like is the handoff. So now if you're on your AirPods, and I assume that's going to be anything that has that H2 chip. So whether you have the Beats over the ear or anything else that rolls out with that chip, I'm making an assumption here that it would at least be possible, because that was one thing when I use my Beats stuff is iPod, pick up the phone, put both of them down. Sometimes I jump on a fire truck when I'm working and all I have with me is my watch. I forget my phone. So it would be cool though to be able to have smart switching, because right now I got to like pause one, start it on the other one, kind of a pain in the butt.
I've got to tell you though, before, not to cut you off, but one thing that I am nervous as hell about the switching stuff just because so right now, like they enabled that on the HomePods, like the handoff thing, and you have HomePods generally where you live. I am the guy, I know we've talked about this, I'm the guy that actually bought a couple.
So the family here's your porn. I got it.
Exactly. That's what always
I'm
you
way
get
ahead of you.
Right.
Way
You get too close to it in the kitchen, and all of a sudden it's no longer discreet.
You got to pick the right bathroom to watch it in.
That's exactly the problem.
And Chris, by the way, you got to be careful because now Apple's just going to think you're washing your hands.
Yeah, exactly. They're just gonna flip it over. But it happens already today. It's like so irritating. I'll be listening to music or doing something, and usually it's like listening to YouTube or music generally, not Audible or anything like that. But it'd be a great spot though if we were sponsored by Audible. But it's like I walk by the HomePod, I put my phone down for a second, talk to whoever else is in the room, and then keep wandering. And when I go to wander away, it's like I notice that everything kind of stops, and then it sticks to the HomePod, and you have to like go back over near the HomePod and like latch and unlatch your phone almost. It's like you have to get it near it. Okay, I'm taking it with me again. It's a neat feature when it works exactly as desired. They always say, oh, it has to be super close. It has to be this. It has to be that. So my only concern is what Apple considers to be the auto or the trigger for that switching. I mean,
I think you'll be able to select a preference at some point. They don't have it right now in what I saw, but you'll probably be able to say like a hierarchy. These are all my known devices for Bluetooth. If you have the option and they're in this range, whether it's 3 meters or whatever, this is the order of hierarchy to kind of give it a heads up. Like, hey, I'd prefer my phone. If I don't have the phone, use the iPad. If I don't have the iPad, use the speaker. That kind of thing.
I'm going to guess it's also going to be linked to or limited to that you're going to have to be signed into your Apple ID. So like I have my wife's family shared, but like if she started playing music downstairs right now, it wouldn't just like start blasting through my AirPods up here unless she physically went into like Bluetooth and overrid what was connected. So I'm guessing because she's not signed to the exact same Apple ID as I am, even though we're family sharing, that they'll disable it for that because you wouldn't want that without you going in and like specifically holding down the button on the case and relinking it to her device. Now, the problem comes in, then how does that work with a computer that you share, right? Because there's going to be one main logged in. So it wouldn't. Yeah. So I'm guessing there'll be, like Mike said, there'll be some fine-tuned things, but yeah, it does concern me, like how you're gonna have to stick your head like 3 inches from the device. And I think they're using the proximity though, that proximity stuff, because they talked about even with the they talked about, the spatial awareness thing with the audio.
Yeah.
And
are you feeling spatially aware right now?
And I was trying to think of the word because I didn't want to say Dolby Atmos because that's basically what it is, but that it uses the sensors to understand the direction your head is tilted, facing, and where you're holding your device. So I'm assuming that this will also be limited to the devices that have the newer chips being able to do that so that it understands, okay, the person that's holding the device is the person that's listening, not like your wife sits down next to you with her phone and starts playing music and it blasts through your AirPods.
Right. I think that they're allegedly going to use everything with all the not mocap, but the accelerometers and all that stuff in the devices. They claim to be doing that. I could totally steal the conversation here and talk about how hopefully this stuff all brings smart unlock. But I think I want to know what else you like, Mike, because I like hearing all these things.
No, you're hearing me say positive things about your company. So I'll just leave it at, I'll skip all the other little crap. ARM. We kind of knew it was coming, right? ARM is going to be the single thing that transforms. ARM, people don't, us in the tech community kind of do, but the regular consumer doesn't understand that ARM is just as significant as the iPhone itself, because what it's doing is it's taking a chain of suppliers from multiple industries that normally combine to make a smart product or a computer, and it's monopolizing them into one company. Now, we could talk about the legality and the consequences of competition and stuff like that, but the fact is, by controlling the entire process, and we've already seen what they've done with the A chips, they demoed today I don't know. I'm sure anybody that watched it, they actually used an ARM Mac OS running Final Cut Pro with 0 issues, meaning they could put it on the iPad right now if they wanted to. It would run it just perfectly. So the only question that remains is how far advanced is ARM, and they're talking about the first ones are coming out the end of the year. So you'll probably see like a 12-inch, the basic student MacBook, I'm guessing something not too intense will come out as a laptop at the end of the year. And they're talking about full integration within 2 years. So probably WWDC 2023, or maybe not even WWDC, maybe the September reveal, you're going to see a complete line where they're all ARM. And by that point, they will be able to run actual games, because the limitation right now is needing the GPU that you got to shove in that board next to the Intel chip and everything else that's going on there. When they do this, the architecture they have right now, if you've seen games on iPad, they run flawlessly. And when they give it 2 more generations and you can run COD and stuff like that at 100 frames per second,
wow.
Literally goodbye to all competitors. Microsoft and AMD, or because they have the technology already, they're already doing their own version. They're going to have to pair up to even compete. And Intel, even though they've always been the farthest ahead on silicon, they've always had the best processors speed-wise and technology-wise. They're going to find themselves the odd man out, I think, ironically, after leading the pack for so long.
Will this make Apple solely an ARMS dealer then?
All right, I'm out.
I think this is just Apple. I think this is just Apple demonstrating their right to bear arms.
Jesus!
But
I mean, there's still arms race, Michael. Mike,
we're gonna rename everybody watching. We're renaming the show to Dad Joke Monday Night.
Dad Circus.
Dad.
What I think this will do, though, is force other companies, just as we've seen before, to speed up what they're doing. It will force on their chips just separated onto a separate hardware. So it's not anything different than they already offer. It's just allowing, essentially, you could have an older chip that doesn't have integrated graphics and buy one of these and have Intel graphics. But I think that's the significance of it, and the fact that they're still going to make it easy for developers with what was
they're sending out the kit next week, I think.
Well, the application that they used before when they went from PowerPC to Intel, there was the program, and I can't think of what it's called right now. There's too many names that they threw it, but that essentially makes it, you as a developer, you can develop apps and they'll work on current and the future chips, and
now
there'll be no.
That's Rosetta, right?
Quick start.
Rosetta, thank you. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, Rosetta 2 now to transfer from running on x86 Intel chips over to ARM architecture for Apple. That's Rosetta 2.
So I'll still be able to Hackintosh until everything's gone completely.
You got 2 year. The 2-year clock for Hackintosh is now officially ticking.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
That's actually that's some news. I mean, that is legit, because this is gonna be
but you won't need it with the gaming.
You won't care.
You won't. Once that's the only knock about Apple, besides their price. Besides the price, their computers themselves is the fact that you need 2. You can't just buy a Mac and have it meet all needs. You can buy a PC, and whether you love it or hate it, it can meet all your needs. Apple just cannot do it yet.
And it means no eGPU either.
Right. Well, the 5600M was that first step. That was the shots fired on that.
Awesome. So now we already know they're already there. Essentially, they've made a laptop that can game with current 5600M, and
for $4,000 though.
Yeah. But now, with using their own technology, instead of having to license that from AMD or from another company, they're not going to lower the cost, because they never do. Even if it's cheaper for them to make a device, they don't lower the cost. But it allows them to add more to the introductory price of things. So instead of having it have to be a $2,500 laptop. They could easily throw a version of this in their base $999 MacBook Pro. And
so what didn't you like? It's clear I'm going to put down a checkbox next to ARM that Michael Pepper approves of their ARM transition. I didn't even make a bad joke about that one. But what didn't you like, Michael?
I didn't like that they made things a little confusing as far as things that are on iOS and not on iPad OS. Now, as far as like widgets are all kept in that widget panel on iPad OS, they're not available within the apps like they are on the iPhone. And they didn't do anything as far as allowing you to clean up your home screen. Even though you have a large home screen, you don't necessarily want. I mean, by no means is the 11 Pro Max a small phone. So if they're allowing you to have the app library, why did they not?
Some of
do
us
that
got
on
bigger
iPad
hands.
OS?
It fits in my hand. So
why are they not doing that on iPad OS? And why did? And also, I just noticed something. The Translate app is not on iPad OS either. It's only on iOS as far as the beta right now, and they didn't say anything about that either.
Well, that's
so
actually
curious
good
to see, like,
I'm glad.
will they not bring it to iPad just like they didn't bring the calculator to the iPad? Like, it's weird to me. And there's no weather app still. Like, they just acquired that weather company. Why are they not using that on the iPad?
Yeah, well,
it's weird to me. So what they're doing is they're transitioning so things on Mac OS come over from iOS and iPad OS. But at the same time, they're leaving some things off from iPad OS that are on the iPhone. And then they're bringing things over to the iPhone, like picture-in-picture that we didn't really touch on too much yet. But no news on, well, unless YouTube changes their mind, on picture-in-picture with the YouTube app. But I did find out, if you go to Safari, go to YouTube, and you make it full screen and then you swipe up, you do get YouTube picture-in-picture because it uses the web app, uses the H.265 and the
because they set it up to run on the
P9
desktop
and all that.
They set it up to run on the desktop Macs for that way. That's why. So if you go in the full browser like you would get on a desktop, you'll probably get similar performance.
Yep. So it worked. The only thing
Go ahead.
is, if you do that, then when you click back to Safari, you can't have Safari, like another instance of Safari running behind it on the iPhone yet. So then you're like, there's no.
That's probably
so you'd have to load Chrome or another app to browse the web and have you.
Whoa.
I thought it was just me. I was like, wow, why is Michael auto?
I mean, the fact is, we're probably 3 to 5 years away from homogenous Apple. They'll call it like, they'll get rid of iPhone OS and iOS and iPad OS and Mac OS. It'll be like, it'll be some weird stuff from a movie we've all seen called like, it'll be like Synergy or something weird. And it'll be one thing that works everywhere omnipresently. One quick thing we did not touch in, you can now select your default email and browser. So if you want to make yourself less secure, no, I'm just kidding. If you want to have more options.
Wow.
Well, no, because certain browsers, for instance, I do a lot of government stuff, and Safari nor Chrome allow, I know Flash is on the way out, but the government is about 15 years behind in everything they do for training and applications. And 90% of what we have to do has Flash.
Oh my
so you have 16 different blue coat security filters, and then they want you to open a Flash application on the super secure government server to do whatever training. So, but I will say the browsers that do support Flash, at least it gives you the option to do so.
I can't find anywhere yet. It must not be available yet to be able to switch those though. Because I didn't find it in the settings or anything yet to change your default. So I'm guessing it's because the app developers have to upgrade their apps to work on iOS 14 anyway, so why would they give you an option to change it if there's nothing else available yet? But they did say that Microsoft already had their suite ready to go. So I'll be curious, does that mean that Microsoft Edge will be available as an alternate browser pretty quick then?
They said Microsoft,
if they did that with Office.
But they said Office, so that's kind of like
it doesn't mean, I mean, does it?
It doesn't mean Edge. And their speak. Of course, Microsoft is going to make sure that Apple has whatever they need to make Office play nice, because that's money in their pocket.
Yeah, but it's still, it is such, I am forced to use Office for a part of my career on an iPhone, and it is so dreadfully battery. It keeps getting these useless options that I don't care about. Like, there's finally a way that I can shut off Microsoft Teams notifications at a certain time every day, which is great. And now I can go in and like I have buttons to do it and all this great, like 19 options to do that, which is great. They got the message, but I can't stop it from killing like 30% of my battery, which if you're not using it, I don't need it to consume that much unless they partnered with Tile. Like, I don't get it. I mean, are you hyper locating me? Is it some sort of workplace efficiency thing? Dang it, just stop using all of my battery. Like that was what ended my SE testing for a work phone. I'm like, I mean, but it was funny. I put the whole ensemble on a 6S and the thing's dead in like 7 hours if I didn't even use it. Like, what is going on with this thing? It's wild.
I'm going to guess that part of that is the way they sync for companion integration. So if you're working with somebody else, they just constantly refresh, and it's how they handle it. Versus Apple does something different in there, and it cracks me up how I've actually seen a number of people that do this. And Apple kind of snuck this in a little while ago, but iCloud being available on Android where you can sign it. But I've actually seen a number of people get Chromebooks or buy like a Samsung tablet and go into the browser, and they're running Pages, Numbers, and Keynote in the browser so that they can work with people that have iOS or macOS devices, and for free. You don't technically, you wouldn't even have to have an Apple device. You could literally just set up an iCloud account because you want access to that suite and you don't want to pay for Microsoft Office 365 or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, like you're talking about, though. Like, what other companies are going to take advantage of integration between Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS? To me, that I didn't see that still gets me is nothing as far as plugging your iPad into an external monitor and actually getting more usage out of it, and not having black bars on the sides, or you plug in an iPhone, you have the black bar on the top and the bottom. Actual, like, you are giving us something. You are saying that this Mac Mini with the A12Z, yes, it has 16 gigs of memory and all that, is powerful enough, but you won't give us that with an iPad? Seems weird. I
agree.
What's something you didn't like, Chris? Tell me a negative about your favorite company today. That's what I want to hear. You wanted to hear me say all the good stuff. I want to hear you say give me all the drama. What's not going to work out here?
It looks like tvOS is still stupid as heck. I know that you don't have an Apple TV. I do.
I do. I just don't use it.
Okay.
I do, because I use all the hack Cody programs. But that's another show. I love that, like, the in concept, its design is great and everything is marvelous and wonderful and terrific. I don't play games on it. I mostly just watch and consume things or share or whatever. But I just hate the UI in it is dated, even though it has synchronization and all these other great, wonderful things. It's irritating to use. It's just irritating to use. I use a touchscreen. I use the stupid touch remote. I don't like the touchscreen on my phone is good. The touchscreen on that remote is irritating. No matter how much I set it, whatever sensitivity you set it at, it's always wrong. And I figured that they'd maybe do something cooler or smarter, since they were doing this app library stuff and the new iOS. Maybe they do something similar on that side. No, there's nothing. There's no
changes in the hardware that we have now. Maybe they're going to come out with some new hardware, and that's going to be the jumper. Is they're going to, kind of like they did before, the old TV OS kind of stayed with the old one eventually, and then if you want the new-ish, you got to go to that new thing. That was one thing that I didn't really care for. On iOS, the gridlock thing, I'll call it the gridlock problem, where it's really dumb to me that you have to like select a widget and then select like the size. It's like a multi-step process, and then once you put it in there again, you have to deal with the Apple Spring. I've said it 3 times. I'll shut the heck up. The other thing, though, actually, you know what? I'm going to wait a second. I want to hear what you guys say for your not likes.
All right, before we go from you, though, the one question I have, because I thought it was kind of like a BMW commercial. They mentioned BMW 6 times in the 90-second spot. What do you think about the digital key thing? I think that's, I mean, it is what it is. I have remote start on both my Ford car and my Honda. So it's not like it's a new concept that's totally foreign and innovative. But what do you see about that that's either more helpful or more of a security risk than what we already have for remote start?
I feel quite honestly, when I watched that entire thing, the thing I left with is that it's a trick to get consumers to stop using their phones as much in the car. Oh, you come in, you put your phone down here, put it right here, up underneath the dash, behind the vent,
true.
over the wire, the hazard button, and once it's there, it'll work fine. Like you get in your BMW, to shove it in the center console. Like who wants that? I don't. The Tesla, you get near it, and you get near it and you touch it, or if you have the the expensive ones, the doors present or whatever the hell, you get the SUV and the stupid thing opens up on you. But that's all interesting, and some people would say maybe perhaps too insecure. But what I don't have to do is I don't have to put my stupid phone in a specific place inside of the car. So I'm curious to see how they deal with that. I don't want to do that. I want to leave the phone in my pocket. The other thing that is totally idiotic to me is if you have a BMW 5 Series and it's, who knows what it is, $80,000, $90,000 for, I mean, they're probably going to say, now we have this Apple Key technology. 20 grand. But the demo shows the person like going up and using like NFC or whatever to unlock their freaking car door handle. This is this most idiotic implementation that I've ever seen of this technology. And I really hope the demo.
My car, my Honda, I literally, if the key's within 3 feet and you touch the handle, I don't even have to pull it. It knows.
Right.
They're basically oversimplifying something that's already beyond simple.
Yeah.
Their demo contradicted what they said, though, because I don't know if you caught, they said that you could have the phone in your pocket or your backpack or whatever and just sit and just walk up and open the door and sit down and you'd be good to go. But then the demo was not showing that at all. It was like you have to be inside the car as it rebirths you and you pray to the gods of Apple. And
I already have that technology in a $30,000 Honda.
Like I could program that into, literally you could program that into anything. Like you could buy a $20 Android phone and program that in through the Bluetooth and the NFC, because there are ones that have that, and use that with a lot of these current phones and not have to spend all that money. I mean, you're spending whatever on your iPhone, plus you're spending whatever on your car. What I'd like to see though is CarPlay interface without having to necessarily have something else. What would be cool is like you plug in your iPhone and you rotate it sideways and it gives you that interface if you want. Or like your iPad becomes your CarPlay interface if you want.
Well, most cars have a display
Android
already in them.
Has their, but for older vehicles. So you get in your car.
Apple doesn't care about older vehicles. This is about buying new stuff and selling stuff.
But why would they want you to buy a new vehicle? They don't make any money from that, though. Like Apple's not selling
because it'll
vehicles.
sound better with the new speakers.
And Apple's not selling. Like, are they? It's because they're licensing the CarPlay interface technology, I'm guessing.
MFI stuff. Yeah.
So
you don't use CarPlay without a display. It doesn't really do anything.
No,
so
but
it's a moot point.
I think what he's saying is like with Android Auto, you can install Android Auto and have it on a phone and like get in and just launch the Android Auto mode, and then the phone is the display, and you have the big button UI.
I'll tell you what I want.
That's what I'm saying.
I want CarPlay without having to plug the damn Lightning in. I want CarPlay through Bluetooth.
That exists.
That is what I want.
Yeah, that's
I can't do it. I can Bluetooth my sound and all that, but like it gives me my full Apple CarPlay on my. I have a 7-inch LCD in my car, but I have to connect it via Lightning or it will not do it. If I could do that just by bringing my phone into the car, it would make my life very much happier.
Mike, I have news for you. You can buy a USB thumb drive and download a piece of software, and you plug it into your car, and it makes it so it will allow you to do that. I've seen it
So
done
like
with
3 more
CarPlay
steps.
and Android Auto. It's literally you download the software, you plug it in, and you hit like software update and install from USB, and it's like a forked version of it. They've made it a one-click install onto your USB, and I've seen it where it works for both CarPlay and Android Auto. And depending on the version, I mean, you have a new enough version, I can tell from what you're saying, that you don't have to do anything special, because some of it you actually had to install like a Wi-Fi USB thing in your car. So
when my car parks in my garage, it goes onto my home Wi-Fi and updates automatically. It connects every single night to my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And part of that reason, when it's parked in my garage, I can do, you guys know, you have a Tesla, Chris. It's probably 50 times more things you could do, but I can schedule my maintenance. I can look at the condition of spark plugs, like stupid, ridiculous details, just when it's parked in a garage.
Yeah, I can open my garage door and tell it to go drive down the street and freak out.
Right? There's the one upper.
A highly useful feature though for me. You know,
you can take it.
This comment came in and it did make me think, you know, when they had that issue where you could hear other people talking on FaceTime, and you could hear people like talking using walkie-talkie function on your watch, that there was that security glitch. So what happens when like there's a glitch and I can just walk up and open any car that uses
Hey, wait, are you going to not shut out Techie K for bringing this up? Because that was the same thing. I mean, that's where I was going with this.
That was...
They say in the chat, I'm waiting for the bug that a single phone can open 5 BMWs.
Yeah,
and
I popped up.
The sharing it and scarier. Yeah. Sorry. That thing is like, I don't see it. I'm sorry. I keep missing it. Thank you for but yeah, that is exactly I'm concerned about when the glitch is found and how they find it, because this isn't something that you can test. I mean, maybe you could give it to like manufacturing to test, and you can test it with, you know, certain people for certifications and stuff, but you can't go test it with like 50,000 people in their new $80,000 car. You know, you're just not going to pay to do that. And you're not going to really do that until it's out there in the wild. And that's when people will actually find out how secure this thing truly is. So that's what I have. That's where I'm like, yeah. So Techie K, you've got it. That's exactly the concern. And then the other part of this, the flip side for me was too, being like a little bit of someone that maybe I switch phones a little bit. How does this work with like iCloud backup, auto restore, everything like that? I know with the budget Tesla, you've got to take the little card key and then go back in the car and re-authenticate. I mean, you can unlock the car with the app, which is kind of cool, from logging into it and authenticating with the app, but you can't drive the car. You still have to have the actual physical card key to go in and authorize and re-entitle your device. So it's kind of interesting that Apple's doing it entirely electronically. That whole sharing thing,
I also expect there's going to be a number of people that the first week they try this, don't grab their regular key or whatever, or fob, and they rely on their phone, and their phone dies, and they're like, Chris is calling his wife, hey honey, I need you to come here. I need you to drive over to to the store, come get me and unlock the car because my phone's dead or whatever. Like things like that happen.
I have had weird, we've all had that situation where with the fob, the old fob, the fob keys, the kind that, you know, they're just RFID things that are in your pocket. Where you get it in, you're like, oh, I'm used to the seatbelt thing beeping, and then you drive to the store and shut the car off and realize that you didn't actually have the key on you. It was hanging in the garage. Yeah, that sort of thing.
I did something really dumb. For some reason, I had my spare key in a backpack. In my backpack that I had, it was like my go bag back when things were getting hairy here a few weeks ago. So I had a go bag ready. And I had a spare car key in there because your go bag needs to be wherever you are, whether you have your car or not. Well, it made its way into my trunk. So evidently I went to work, and when I'm unloading my car in the morning, I take stuff from the car, bring it to the fire station. Went back, go to close the trunk pops right back open. Close the trunk, pops right back open. I'm like, this stupid ass car, man, what the hell is going on? So I went and got my keys and I'm like locking it, unlocking it, pounding the shit out of my trunk, open and close. There's like 5 other firemen going, man, I thought you got a nice new car. I'm like, this car, I hate Hondas. Like, and then and then after about, when I calmed down and everybody left after they're done laughing at me in my new car, I went, oh my God, I know what it is. Took the backpack, set it 5 feet away from the car, click.
It's so funny.
It's like you don't think about that kind of stuff.
Years ago, I used to do some car audio installation stuff, and I had somebody that had an Infinity, and somehow they destroyed one of the sensors inside of the car. And they were like, hey, I looked at the schematics, and there's one in the trunk that I could pull and use and repurpose, and it's the same sensor type. Is there any reason we couldn't do that? And whatever, that ended up occurring so that they would, they didn't have to go buy a new $280 sensor from Infinity to have the car, the key working inside their car. And then they regretted that the exact moment they did something like what you did, which is they put the bag in the trunk, they closed it, and it's behind one reader. And obviously, I mean, it would actually be far more secure if it was insecure if it was in the trunk and it permitted the car's operation. But in this case here, they put it in there and had no way to get the thing out, and had to call somebody else with the key to come get them. So, oh man,
dislikes. Let's do a couple of dislikes and then close the show.
One of the things I was going to say real quick about that, though, that I thought about after the whole your phone's going to die, right? I could just send you a key. Like Chris is there. I could just send him the key before my phone dies. And then he would be able to do whatever, start the car, whatever access. I could just send you full permission before it dies. So I didn't think about that. I guess I answered my own question on that.
Dislikes. Can I say what I didn't like? The main thing I didn't like?
No, we can't.
The main thing I didn't like, and I liked a lot about it. So for all the stuff they were copying from Android, which is fine. It makes it better, right? When they share, both of the OS is approved. But the thing that drives me nuts is when they half-ass do it. So the app library is what they're calling it, I guess now. What basically it's a hybrid of app drawer from Android. And you can cluster your stuff. You can hide. Looks like you can cluster them together and hide them off of your main screens. But to me, that's dumb. I'd rather have a true app drawer and let me slide whatever app I want, because the technology is clearly there. They're already doing it, but I didn't see it in a way, at least it didn't appear, that there's a way to take individual icons and arrange them in a fashion that I prefer. And to me, that's a big miss, because they enabled the entire process of grouping stuff, disappearing stuff off your screens, the clutter. You got the declutter, but it's only a half-ass declutter. So I feel like we need to be able to, I'm hoping in the beta, they change that to not only can you do it in the cluster homes of app library, but individual apps have the ability to be moved, hidden, or resubmitted to different home screens. That's probably the biggest miss of the day for me.
The 2021 half-ass declutter running the A15. No, that's like here was like, what the heck? But yeah, that's what I noticed. Like, I'm running the beta and there's no customization. They just pick where they want to throw. So it's like, oh, we're going to throw this into social.
Yeah.
But your YouTube is going to be under media, and your YouTube studio is in a different thing. It's not in the same area as YouTube. Then there's like another, and then if you have a bunch of apps that are categorized under one, I guess it's kind of nice in a way, because let's see real quick. Like this one has all those apps in one thing, so I don't have like 3 or 4 entertainment folders. It clicks and it takes up the whole screen, where before, with your folders, it just took up that little 9x9 section, and then you could swipe through and you had all the pages. This allows the whole, but you still have to go back. You still have to go back to the home screen to get to an app, unless you use voice search Siri to launch your app or whatever. You always have to go back, and now it's an extra step. And I don't know if they'll change this or not, but one thing I noticed is it's an either or. So you can choose to have the app installed to the home screen or to the app library. It doesn't allow you to have it install like in both areas. So you'd have to go switch that. So if you want an app on the home screen, you're going to have it go into the app library and then go in there, press and hold, add to home screen. Or you're going to have it set so every app goes to the home screen and then have them go to... And I think that's going to change, though, because from their preview, from what they were showing, it looked like the apps went to the home screen and then you could press and hold, and then you could just not really delete, but hide home screens. And when you did that, then those apps automatically went to the app library, but they don't have that yet. So what we're seeing right now is different than what we're going to see in the final for sure. There's some weird, but as far as I can tell, it's running pretty smooth.
Well, it's
Chris has another story.
Well, I was just noticing. I mean, I actually did try it out, and I thought you can actually access things directly from that screen. I thought that originally when you did it, it was forcing you into that list or that library, but it's totally not. It really is actually. It will. So if you have like, the little, I don't know, four square tab thing, and you tap the camera, it will actually fire it up off the app screen. So I look forward to this thing, but yeah, right now it's definitely still beta, but I'm hoping that they improve it.
Mike, you're just so you know, Michael, you're in like 480p right now.
That's weird.
So holding stuff up is really.
But anyways, I was trying to show. Yeah, it does, but also at the same time, that's annoying because it doesn't go into it directly when you tap where it's the mini icons, because that's like a folder. But if you accidentally tap next to it and select an actual app, then it opens up.
Yeah.
So it's like multi-dimensional weird, like you don't know where to tap, you don't know what to and then what I kind of like though was the whole when you hit the search, it gives you all your apps in a list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can then search for one if you don't know what. But that's just saying like, hey, we're going to place things in these folders and you're not going to know where it is, so you're going to have to search for it. Like that's what it says to me. We gave you a search because you're not going to be able to find it, and you're not going to be able to customize where it goes, so you're going to have to search for it until you figure out where the hell we're placing things and what algorithm and AI we use to decide what goes where, and it gets confusing.
Like suggestions right now is very funny because suggestions it basically is giving me every app for suggestions, because I deleted and moved I moved them all into the app library earlier today. I also wish that there was an option to bulk move things, but I guess for most people this won't be an issue moving forward. So yeah, just install it to the app library instead of the home screen, and you'll be good.
Don't mind me. I'm just adding us as moderators to our own show.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
It's confusing though, because I felt like they added more, but at the same time they made iOS way more confusing. Because you're trying to figure out, like, is it on my home screen? Is it in my app library? It has to be one or the other. And then widgets, what I still don't like you've brought up several times, but I think is you can't just put the apps where you want it. They have to all flow to the top. It's like anti-gravity. Like what the heck is like everything just gonna, no matter what you do. And then if you add a widget and then you get rid of it, it messes up everything. So if you have multiple pages and then you have widgets in there and you get rid of an app and the widget goes away, then everything flows back to the from the next page to the previous page.
And we're not even going to talk about the thing that if right now I think this is just a bug, but I built out a page with like 3 different widgets on it. And then and this was on the SE that I was testing it with in this instance, and you put like 3 widgets that all fit, and then there's apps that fit and everything's great. And if you tap an area outside of the widgets, the 3 widgets stay and everything stops vibrating. But if you hit the home key, like to bounce out of it all, which would in every other iPhone I've ever used, that would stop everything from shimmying around, and then you just go back to home. But if you hit that, it somehow just it sends the last widget you added into outer space. It's just like, oh, you clearly didn't want to put this thing. You're wing, and away it goes. And then but then the best part is you go back to main home, and then you go back in it, and you find it hidden in a later screen. So I'm sure that's just they're going to fix that. But I mean, it is. You know what? Actually, are we done with the dislikes? Do we still?
No, I said I said my piece.
We'll be tinkering with this, of course, over the next several weeks and figuring out like what does and doesn't work. And like as far as like for me, I'll be curious to see when I AirPlay near or plug in my iPhone or my iPad or whatever to a TV, like it's going to be weird going into that app library when you're mirroring your phone to a TV because you'll just have like this list sideways.
This million item list.
Hey, you want to see all my apps? I have 400,000 apps on my iPhone, and they're all in this list. Like,
so
is anybody in chat? By the way, while you're finishing your comments here, anybody in chat? If you guys got any questions, we tend to ramble on about what we care about. But if you have questions, we'd prefer to answer your questions than ramble on.
Yeah, I mean, like today, I know that we covered a lot of the mobile side of things. I mean, it was really focused on iOS 14. I think that had the biggest set of questions, and that was probably the most anticipated thing. I mean, other than ARM is huge, but iPad OS and Mac OS have some stuff. We will certainly be covering that in future episodes. But I think it's important that we get more runtime with that before we cover that. Which, speaking of runtime. PSA time.
Apple doesn't use runtime, I don't think.
No. It's all regular JRE, regular full. What the hell is the opposite of runtime now? No, it's just a regular JRE. The PSA I have for everybody right now is I'm going to give everybody an early prediction. The next week, you're going to see somebody do what I just did, which is they start crapping on iOS 14 because they're running the beta and the beta doesn't work right. So something for everybody, just a point of awareness. I know for us, we're idiots that all talk to ourselves and talk to you guys and everything. And I'm sorry for insulting you guys and bringing you along with my own classification myself. But the thing is, if you are doing this on your daily driver, like, man, that's incredible. Dev betas, especially Dev beta 1. This has been a little bit, so hopefully it's a little bit more stable because it's had more time in the oven. But this is a heavy systematic change in the background of iOS. If you're running this on your daily driver, while I respect you, you just realize like you are playing Russian roulette, and don't go hauling on the Twitter freaking things out. Instead, go use the feedback button inside of every legit beta and say, hey, this thing is not something that I like. Change this, do this. This is horrible. Give them that feedback. They definitely read it. I can tell you that, I mean, not all of it, but they use some word sniffing stuff to go over it and calculate what you need to do.
They don't read Prosser stuff.
They don't read Prosser's. They ignore his. They block all of his stuff. But the other part of it is just, you've got to make sure that really, if you're that interested in it, if you're not developing an app and you're just someone that wants to check it out, wait for the public beta stuff to come out. Don't go geek out on the dev beta. I know there's sites that have the profiles and everything like that. Don't do it. Okay. That's my 2 cents. I never want to tell anyone what to do or not do, but in this case here, like, if you're going to do it, that's cool. Do your thing, but just shut up about it for a little while. Okay. Don't come out and be like, this thing totally sucks because of whatever. You are running beta software. When it's prod, you can talk about it all you want. But the other problem here is too, you've got to realize that on top of just these beautiful little OS renderings and UI elements and all of that stuff that's going on, there is a lot going on in the background as far as CPU efficiency, radio, antenna tuning, all that stuff, as far as like cell handoffs and things. These are usually full boat upgrades that are designed to bring us into the next generation of devices. That's kind of what, Apple has tied those things in a lockstep. So realize that you might all of a sudden have strange things that start occurring to your device because you are running beta. It might not just be that your widget doesn't go where you want, or the app doesn't show up in the screen, or this or that. It could be that it can't attach to, your cell towers with the same amount of signaling, or it moves that, the Wi-Fi hotspot, it tries to move between different points of your mesh, whatever. Different things, weird things happen. It's usually not as efficient on battery. So if you're one of those folks that's watching this and you're like, I gotta go and get this, just you can, but just think about it a little bit. You're gonna have I've already had to correct larger creators complaining.
I said first off, beta, bro. It's a beta. People are literally in exclamation points being upset that a feature doesn't work, or what is this bugginess? Have we really gotten to the point, and I think we have, where this is what happens when you have non-tech people, frankly, doing beta. When you open a public beta and you have people that think they're a tech person, and they're complaining about bugs, you don't know what beta is. In the OG old days, when you were lucky enough to be selected to participate as a as a non-employee, as a public test beta person, if you got accepted into that program, you knew it was going to be all kinds of screwed up, but you didn't care because you got to see it first and you got to watch the improvements happen. Now I'm going on Twitter right now and seeing people, this sucks, this isn't working, that's not what they, bro, it's not going to be official till September. You know that. September will be official iOS 14. Right now it's calm down.
And apps aren't even going to be updated yet. So your issues is probably the app isn't updated for. And here's the other thing. If you update your iPhone and you have an Apple Watch, you most likely have just made it so you need to also run beta on your Watch OS, or things might not
really
work
talk about Watch OS.
and things might not work correctly. But they're an ecosystem. So if you upgrade one thing, depending on what it is, if it's designed to integrate with other things, you're going to lose that if it's a new function, unless everything is running the new betas. So unless you're running new Mac OS, new iPad OS, new iOS, new Watch OS, new TV OS, new whatever, you're not going to get advantage of it if you're just running one part of it. It's like you expect to take advantage of the whole ecosystem, Apple ecosystem, by running one part of 5 would be like expecting to get iPad stuff on your iPhone and your Mac entirely the same. You only own one part of it. You're only using one part of it. So, and there's going to be glitches.
Well, and talking about that one part thing, Michael, too, just I know I threw this PSA out there. Another one, though, if you are playing games with your watch, you can install the latest iOS beta. You can flip-flop back and forth. On watch, it is not as easy. So beware that if you
you might have to wipe it. You might have to wipe your watch.
If you are running a beta, you have to take it to the Apple store, which if they're not open in your location, you're stuck, because you can't just plug it in with your typical charger, even though there's USB. And because they actually connect through where the watch bands connect. I don't have mine on, but
actually, did you have it?
Because watch bands connect and do it.
With mine, they FedEx fixed it. With mine, I had to go in and they depoted it, and they wouldn't. I knew exactly what was wrong, and I contacted Apple Chat and I said, "Hey, here's what's up. This is not for this version. This is a couple versions ago." But even the Apple Chat folks were like, "Yeah, you got to go to the store so we can run diags on it." And they go there and they touch it and pet it and everything like that, and they go, "Yeah, we got to send it out," and then they send you, your watch back. And so if you are lucky to have a store that is open, you can go there and maybe they will do it. But I'm pretty sure that they like to punish you now for doing that. So beware.
Well, because you're supposed to be using this if you're a developer. Like, read the thing. It's not say, even if it's a public beta, then it's for public. But when it's a developer beta, even if it's the same version that is going to eventually go public, they're going to fix something between the developer and the public beta typically.
Yeah.
It's usually
developer beta, though, is usually an alpha.
Yeah.
It's rare when they go to a public beta that if everybody knows about it and knows what the features are, that's a public beta. They don't do it concurrent. The app at Microsoft and all of them got it during the alpha to see what the changes were going to be and how they had to change their Xcode or whatever. I will say briefly, we didn't talk about WatchOS. The 2 things they added for WatchOS was how to wash your hands like a 5-year-old for long enough. That's a cool feature. And then sharing watch faces. So once again, I just dropped my own, I'll do a shameless plug, just dropped my own Apple Watch video today. But at the same time, not much changes. The watch is pretty darn awesome if they could fix the battery, but they're having a lot of trouble of, like, between Series 3 and now in Series 5, they haven't added a whole damn lot. Really haven't. And I want to see them make this thing run by itself, where I don't need this to do this. That would be nice.
You're going to have to charge your watch 4 times, though, with the sleep tracking thing.
I use sleep tracking. I have a third-party app. I have a third-party app called Pillow. It's a great app. So I've been tracking my 4 hours of sleep at night. And I'm not really actually exaggerating that. But I track my sleeping. And because of that, it uses about 20 to 25% while you're asleep. So if I'll charge my phone before I go to bed, and I'll wake up, it'll be about 75. Around lunchtime, I'll be down to about 30 to 40. And then I'll recharge it to 100. and then it will be about 20 to 40, depending on what I do when I get up that night. When I get up that night to go to bed. That doesn't make sense. When I get the watch up, you know what the hell I
Get
mean.
up,
When I
watch.
take the watch off the charger, I'm not
When
even
you
drinking
the
tonight.
watch.
What's going on?
What's confusing to me is, and I thought this was weird, was when the lady demoed the sleep tracking, her watch was at 45%. I was like thinking, like how they were trying to be realistic, so people don't be mad if they put
It's
it at like
about-
85%.
I
You know,
assume
then people would be mad if it's less than that.
I assume Apple, when they do it natively, will be less power hungry than the third-party app, but it can't be much because the cool part about it is it has to use the gyro because it detects motion, you rolling around. It detects noise like snoring and stuff. It detects your heart rate, and it does it once per minute for the entire night. So because of all those things, it's like a minor workout that it's tracking while you're sleeping. So I do get it, but after using my Samsung Galaxy Watch, which could go with workouts, sleep tracking, and everything, would last me 3.5 days over and over again, no matter what. And the Apple Watch, even though I think it's slightly superior in the health tracking department than the Samsung, the fact you have to charge it twice a day to use it 24 hours a day sucks. They need to fix that.
And what if you're the type of person that goes for a walk on your lunch break, and now you got to set your watch on the charger while you go for your walk, so you're not getting your tracking because it's dead and needs to be charged up, and it doesn't just charge up in like 15 minutes.
You can find
things
it
like
only
that.
takes 45 minutes. The good news is it's not a big battery. It takes about 45 minutes. So if at any point during your day, it'll make it. Like if I charge this thing up before I go to bed tonight and I do a whole day tomorrow and I don't charge it,
This is what you need.
around 9 o'clock tomorrow night, it'll die. That's the reality. So anytime between you waking up and about 8 to 10 o'clock, if you can find 45 minutes or even a half an hour, you'll make it. You'll be okay. But it's still
Chris
annoying,
looked like he
you
was
have to do
holding
it
up
every single day.
Yeah,
You looked like you were holding up a thing of pepper spray there.
yeah.
Or-
I was trying to get you to be quiet. No, it's this thing. It's this I think it's like Belkin or whatever. It's just strange timing because this was charging down here when I came down here. But since I have manual focus on, I'll hold it back here. Sorry. This is just a handy little power bank, great little thing. Doesn't really fit in your pocket, which is why it's on my desk at home. So I think that's really all I had. I mean, we had the big dub today. We could have had a 4-hour show that bored the eyeballs off of everybody, but we didn't. Because I see
made you use that sleep, and then anybody that's using WatchOS beta could use their sleep tracking.
Yes, they would get to test it during the show. Good reverse marketing. So I want to. So first off, we're going to be wrapping this thing up in a moment. So anyone in the chat, if you get any questions like that, certainly hit us up now. Until then, though, Techie K, thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. Also,
kept it real till the end. Appreciate that.
legit. Yeah, seriously, appreciate that. I do not recall seeing you around here before, so it's good to have you. Good to have some new folks showing up here. Also, Tech702, shout out to you. Thank you very much. Technically lurking. I think I saw K Hodge, Scoop as well, Apple Monster. Gosh, Jason C. We probably bored him to tears, or his beta device restarted on him while we were here. And I know Miles Tech was here a little bit in the earlier phases.
Shout out to my buddy Cody. He sewed up.
Oh yeah, that's right, Cody Timmons. Yeah, hey, shout out to him as well. So really, thank you to everybody that came out in the chat. Super appreciative of your spending your time with us here this evening. Don't forget, we are here every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Every Monday, not just when it improves their own situation.
Every Monday.
I was wondering if I should comment on
Some
that.
people are considerate about time slots, others not so much. But yes, every Monday is our spot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I was just gonna say. So if you want, if you ever want to check out a Monday night stream, even if it's not post WWDC, we are here every Monday.
The best Monday night stream.
The best Monday night stream.
Really the only one.
We're actually the best
legitimate.
Monday night stream on this channel too.
Everybody else is pirate. everybody
Yeah.
else's pirate radio tonight. So
Yeah. So that is it for us. You can find us here every Monday. And of course, myself, Chris, aka Battery Powered. You can find me every Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Mike, why don't you guys tell us where we can find each of you?
oh, my name's Mike. I'm on the internet. No. Tech702 Mike at Twitter. That's where all the dysfunction starts and all my stuff's there.
I'll make it simple. You can find me at Michael Pepper Tech Talk, Michael Pepper Tech Live, and all my links to my Twitter and stuff are down below because I don't need to spew out like the 50 links that I have down there.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to find, you can.
What he
it's all
lacks
the
in
description.
talent, what he lacks in talent, he makes up for in links.
Yeah. Link farm below. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, it's like, make sure you catch us.
It's
So
somewhere in our stuff. I don't know.
I will be back. It's been like a month, but I promise I will be back this Thursday. Even if I have to like hotspot to something or like go out in the middle of nowhere and like attach my phone to a drone so it gets signal or some crazy thing, I will be here Thursday at 7 p.m. EST, 4 p.m. PST, doing the show that I've planned for like a month now on inexpensive
7 p.m.
budget devices. So finally.
Cool. And of course, Mike, you did mention this before, but you go check out Mike's latest video too. He did drop a Apple Watch video. I think it was probably perhaps one of your longest videos yet. And
Very much the longest.
You're not
video.
driving. So
I made that entire video with screaming kids, some of it at work. So it's not my best work, but it's what I meant. But the production quality is probably lacking a little. But the information's there. So go watch it. Help a brother out for just 30 cents a day and a click.
All right.
And
that's it.
And
Everybody,
if-
thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for and especially sorry, technically lurking. Thank you again. I was giving Techie K the specific love in the chat and did not realize you're still there. So thank you very much for coming out as well. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to my two most beautiful co-hosts on this channel, Mr. Mike, Mr. Tech702, and Pepper Live, aka Mr. Michael Pepper. Thank you guys so much. I think with that,
Bye,
we'll be on our way.
folks.
Be well, folks.
Parade wave.